How are you doing? My name is Lars Christensen and welcome to Ask Lars Live number 9. This is where I just try to answer as many as my emails as I can and hopefully adding some Fusion 360 value to you. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell notification so you make sure you get all the videos. Thumbs up if you like these, thumbs down if you don't. And as always, I love your comments. Let's jump right into it. Let's just hammer away at some emails. The first one is from Dave. And Dave says, first off, really enjoy all your videos. Thank you, Dave. I got a question. I searched many of your importing files videos and also others, but could not really find the answer I was looking for. I bought a couple of DXF files to use with my CNC plasma cutter to make a metal address sign for the front of the house. That's cool. I have some issues that when I insert them, I get some yellow lines and it looks like it won't cut those yellow lines inside of CAM. Let's jump in and take a look at it. So, switching over to Fusion 360 and Dave sent along the files. Let's go insert. Let's go insert DXF. And you get prompted to select the plane first. Select a file. And we have the 3 files. So we're going to start with the plaque here. Hit open to that. And that gets brought in there. Cool. A couple of things. You will notice over here you get a menu. You can change units, different things. Also, before I hit OK, notice that you can move this part right now. Now, if I go to the top view here, it might be easier to see. So rotate it 90 degrees here. You can grab this little square and you can move the part around. And I would actually probably try to place my audience somewhere around there where it maybe makes a little bit more sense. So place it like, maybe I want it in the center. I'm an old mold maker. Place it right there and hit OK. And you will see that we end up with a sketch down here that we can right click and we can go in and edit. So now we're in standard sketch mode. That's what when you bring in a DXF file, it becomes sketch. Now I have found the best ability I get is by fixing this. By the way, Dave, I don't see any yellow in here. Everything looks pretty blue. So there have been some updates to Fusion 360 since you sent your email, so maybe try to check that. But what I would do is I would highlight this whole thing, drag a window over it, right click, and select Fix. Now everything's going to turn green and you're going to get a lot of points that shows up. I wouldn't worry too much about that. So let's hit Finish Sketch. And so this is locked down, right? So that's why I'm doing that. I don't want to try to put dimensions on everything. Let's go in and bring in the other 2 files. Let's go here and say Insert DXF. Select the same plane here. Select the folder and go and select the number 1. That comes in there. I'm just going to leave it there. Hit OK for a second. And let's go and insert the other one. Insert DXF. Select that plane. Select the folder and number 2. So that comes in there. All right, I don't know, hit OK with that. I don't know, Dave, what number you live in, 12, 21, 112, 112. Okay, but let's just move these around a little bit. Now, you'll see that they're pretty big. So the first thing I'm going to do is I actually open them up into this number 1. I opened up in this when I had the other sketch open. I actually didn't want that. I'm going to go and edit this. I want them as separate sketches. Delete that one out of that. Let me just insert DXF. I had the sketch open, I think, when I went up and opened the other one. Okay, there we go. 3 sketches. So there's our first one. There's number 2, and there's number 1. We could actually reorder these down there. So now this is number 1. It's number 2. You can drag operations around down here. All right. They look a little big. I'm going to right click and hit edit and go into number 1 here and go in, and there's in the modify in the sketch, there's a sketch scale. So we could go in here and highlight that, select something to scale over, what I don't really care about right now. Let's make it 0.25. 0.25, that might be a little small. 0.5. 0.4. 0.4 might look good. Hit OK to that. Now with this sketch, in still editing the sketch, I am literally going to hover over that, right click, and fix that. Make that a habit whenever you're working with files like this and importing it, a lot of sketch geometry, that either you fully define it with sketches or you fix it. Leaving it just all blue, I've talked about it before, my $500 mistake, and it can actually also make the software work a little weird. So go ahead and do the same thing to number 2 here. Scale that down. What did we say? 0.4. I think so. And I'm gonna leave this right now because I'm gonna finish the sketch and leave that still blue, because you can't move the text if it's fixed, right? Then it's locked down in place. So I'm gonna leave that one blue. I'm gonna click the move tool here. Make sure you have it on the sketch object. Highlight that, and now I can move that number 2 down to about where I want it. Again, Dave, I don't see these yellow lines you're talking about. So maybe try again. I'm gonna hit edit sketch. I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna make sure that I select this, right click, and I'm gonna fix it again. So make sure you always fix your sketch entities. Let's go back to number 1, right click, edit sketch, and right click, and whoops. Hey, I have something selected. Highlight it, right click, and unfix it. Finish sketch, go to the move command up here. Make sure sketch object is selected. And now we can move this one down wherever we think that belongs down there. And you could create some construction lines to kind of make sure they're lined up. That's what I actually would do for sure. Oh, let me just fix that. Edit. Now, another thing I wanted to show that I think that some people's going to like is, so Fusion, so now I got it somewhat close to what I want. Fusion is, a solid modeler. That's why most of you guys are liking it and using it. But you can actually, in the manufacturing workspace, we actually don't need to turn it into a solid to be able to machine it. What many people don't know. We can actually leave this, Dave. So if we go into manufacture in here, and we're going to select the setup, and I'm going to switch this over to cutting. You said you had a plasma cutter. Select that right there, and I'm just going to hit OK. It's going to give me a warning that there's no solids. It's not a well, it is a warning, I guess. It's not an error. It's just giving you like, hey, you don't have any solids in this model. What we're going to say is fine. And then we can go up to the 2D cutting, select the tool. And if we scroll down to the bottom here, we actually have some profile tools. One of them being a plasma cutter. You can go in and edit this so you get whatever curve you have on your plasma cutter. And then now, because this is not a solid, we do have to select more options. We can't just select the face. One of the cool things about the 2D cutting toolpaths that we're using right now, so for either plasma, water jet, and laser, is you can actually select the face, and it understands that it's going to select every profile around that. So for this here, you will have to go in and select all these edges. But so your first thing, Dave, I don't see those yellow lines, so maybe try again. But know that when you bring it in and you play around with it, there is some best practices like selecting the text and locking it down with the fix command, just to make sure that it can't move around. Because remember, Fusion as a mechanical CAD software needs to solve all of those. Last one here, I think. Did I select everything? It looks like I selected pretty much anything. It's a bit hard to see now where we have all these points, but they are not circles. They are circles. I'm going to selected everything. I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to calculate the toolpath. And now we can actually go ahead and we can sort of simulate that. There we go. Hit the simulate button and press the play button, and we will now get those toolpaths. We can simulate and make sure that everything looks good. And there we go. I hope that was useful, Dave. The first one here, I thought that one was kind of cool, bringing in the DXFs. Again, if you get those errors, again, shoot me another email, Dave. Maybe we'll screen capture of those so I can just take a look at it. Like it? Thumbs up? Thumbs down? That's okay. Love your comments. Maybe somebody has something to add to this. Love it. All right, let's jump to the next one. The next one is from Tom or Tommy. Let me start off by saying thank you. Well, thank you for watching, Tom. I was wondering what would be the best way to create a computer fan grill that would be resizable for different fans. 40 millimeters, 80 millimeters, and so forth. It would be handy to be making custom size filter grills. All right, so for that, I would recommend that you go and check some of the other videos talking about using parameters. I can tell you one way you could do this, and one of them would be using the scale function. I'm going to show you that. But to actually, I can also show you how you could change the size and how, when you measure a computer fan, it's where the 4 holes are mounted in. But I am not quite sure when it comes to adding more rings. Let's move on from Dave's example here. So let's start out by how would I model up a computer grill fan. So what is that? Computer fan grill, and maybe dimensions. Images. Yeah. So we're trying to we're gonna model something up that looks like this. So I would probably have to think a little bit more about it if I wanted to just change, so you can see how the dimension kind of goes from where those 4 holes are. If you just want that to be bigger, that's easy enough. I'm not quite sure if you wanted to add more rings though, then you might have to be a little bit creative. Maybe somebody have an answer in the comments. But let's model one of these up first, because I think that's a kind of a fun exercise. So, and then I can show kind of how you can scale it, make it bigger that way. Open up a sketch here. And I'm going to start with a center rectangle. So S key, center rectangle here. Move that up. And there was one of them that was 80 by 80. Let's do that there. So that's going to be kind of like where our 4 screws are at. Let's add some rings. So C for circle. And I'm going to make the first one to be 90. Let's make the next one to be 70, maybe. Looks pretty good. C for circle. Let's make this one 50. C for circle. 30. C for circle. This one's going to be 10 then. Right? So you kind of like could do this where you're keeping most of this stuff within this. Okay, I feel pretty good about this. Let's go ahead and say C for circle and draw a circle up here. Let's make that 10 millimeters there and do another one, C for circle down here, 10 millimeters for there. Okay, so we've done that. Maybe what we do, I might break things here. I'm gonna go and do a line from there to the center point. Actually, I'm going to place it out here somewhere in space, a little bit off, and do that to there. Just so I don't interfere with those construction lines. I don't really want to move those construction lines. I'm going to do a fillet between here. Right? I don't know how big I want to make that fillet. Let's make it 5. Okay. Now, one of the things you will notice is that it's not centered, so I'm going to create a line from this midpoint to there. So now I have a line. Then I can use one of my favorite symmetry constraints. So find that endpoint and find the endpoint of that one and select that line. Then it should be symmetrical. And let's do a dimension from here to the center. Here's a cool little trick, if you didn't know. So D for dimension. Select the midpoint. If you hold down the Shift key on your keyboard, then it will actually find the tangent of that circle, because that's probably how you would normally dimension that. So now that is fully defined there. So that is pretty good. Let's I'm gonna just put everything in one sketch here. What can cause you a little bit of trouble. I'm gonna trim this section out, and I'm gonna trim this section out here, and then I'm gonna put a fillet in between those, because if you're looking ever on these computer fans, actually I gotta trim that too, right? If you ever look at those computer fans, it's kind of like bent wire somehow, right? That's what I'm trying to do here. Okay, and I'm gonna give it a little bit of a radius there. 2 maybe be better. You following me so far? Or is this getting really boring? Okay, I think that I just about have everything I need here. Now, when I did that, it actually became underdefined, but I want to leave that for right now. Some more dimensions, that'll be all good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this sketch for a second, and I'm going to do a construction geometry from this face, and then I'm going to click on to an object over here and select that endpoint. That gives me a plane right there. Create a sketch on that, and if we are lucky, C for circle, let's make it 1.5 millimeters. C for circle, and coincident from here to that endpoint right there. Now we should be able to do a sweep where this is the profile, this is the path. See how that gives us that right there? If this went too fast, you can always go back, rewatch the recording, but that gives us kind of like that shape there. Now all the sketches went away. You just got to turn it back on there in the light bulb over there. So that is pretty good. Now we could mirror that, because that's going to be one on the other side. So we select mirror, not faces. I'm going to select bodies just because I have this one body, and the mirror plane is going to be this mirror plane, and then I just kind of like got that there. Now this is where, to going back to Tom's kind of question, there is some, we could probably do something with parameters. We could definitely control this size, right? Because if we go in and look at the parameters right now, sketch number 1, this 80 right here would control anything. So if I go in here and make this 100, you will see that that moves that out, right? And if I change this to 100, so we can definitely change the size of these two wires here. I'm good with that. It's the rings that I haven't, maybe if I thought a little bit more about it, but I can't really figure it out, because here is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to create another sketch on this plane here, and I might actually have to do a P for project. Project that circle. C for circle. Let's do a 1.5 millimeter circle. Let's do coincident between here and here. And then you could do a rectangular pattern. Select that circle and drag that out and do spacing. And we have 10 millimeters between each of them, right? And we have 5 of them. Now that would become those circles. You could add more to if you wanted to in the parameters, but I'm not quite as sure about the way I'm doing it here with the sweep. That wouldn't necessarily, I'm not quite sure how to do that, because see what I'm going to do now is I could go in here and do that one, right, and do that as a join. Okay, get that sketch back, right click, repeat sweep. Profile is going to be that. With that, make that a join. Right click, repeat sweeping. Just repeating this. Maybe there's a trick that I don't know about to do it as a control it all from the parameters. Right click, repeat sweep, profile there, join. Okay, so that is my computer fan right there. If we go and we look at the body, we have one body in here. So like I said before, if we go back into to change the parameters, let's make this a little shorter here. Move it over a little bit to the side. Look from the top maybe. If we change this now to 100, you see how these will move, right? We change that to 75. Like this is now reacting in parameters. What would be a good way to do it? But I can't talk and type at the same time. And we do have that sketch pattern down there. You'll see that's the 5 circles I did. I'm not sure about extending those out. Now what you could do, Tommy, is you could go in now and do a scale, right? And you could select this and you could scale it 2 times and it'll be twice as big, or 1.5, and that will bring it down there. All right. I thought it was worth, at least if you're wondering how you could draw something up like this, now you know. Not the full answer there, Tommy, but hopefully get somebody to think about how you could do it the other way around. There's got to be a way to do it. If not, so like something in an Inventor, we have something like iLogic, and there I'm pretty certain that you could absolutely do it. But I'm not quite sure about how to do it in there. Somebody, thumbs up, thumbs down, comments, give me the answer. All right, let's move on here. Next one is from Mikael. Mikael from Sweden. Hello, Mikael. Your videos on YouTube are amazing and instructive. Awesome. Can you show what tools you use when you work in Fusion? I've seen a video that you use a special mouse. Yes. So quick. The normal mouse I'm using on my right hand, I'm right-handed, that's a regular mouse. And the only thing I would say, if you're a Mac user, get a mouse with a middle mouse button on it. That's what I do. You need right click, left click, and a middle mouse button to scroll with in Fusion, in my opinion. And I'm using a standard mouse in my right hand. In my left hand, I am using one of these to spin around. And I have done a couple of videos on this. If you go to YouTube and you search 3D connection, oh, we gotta spell it right. Connection. This video right here is probably the one I would recommend you to go. How I pan, zoom, rotate. Go and check that one out. So what do I want to tell you about these quick? So I have this one here. I'm not quite sure if this is their latest actually. But what you can do is you can spin this big handle around. It's like holding the part in one hand, spinning it around, and then you can click with your normal mouse on it. They also come in smaller sizes. I have another one here. They also come in smaller sizes, what is more affordable. What I think is fine. The big one I have here has some custom buttons on it. I really don't use them at all. So if you are looking to buy one of these, they are about, I think maybe about $120 US new, but you can probably find them on eBay a lot cheaper. And I would say if you're just starting out, these are perfect. Now, if you're a hobbyist and you maybe are inside of Fusion, 30 minutes a day or something like that, I don't know if I would buy one. But if you are using them a lot, I would recommend it. That's why I bought my first one, was literally because I started feeling in my wrist. Sitting 8-10 hours on the computer inside of CAD, my hand started hurting. So go and check those out. Hope that was useful. Michael? was useful. Hope you're doing well, man. It's just trying to get through some of the emails here. Next one is from Yuov. Hi Lars, I'm a silent fan of your videos. I'm not so silent anymore from today. Viewing, learning, and saying nothing so far. Well, I appreciate you sending me an email. But he did decide to do that because last week we were talking about the thing I couldn't say. Hyperboloid, or whatever. I have not practiced trying to say that. But what you have sent me is worth sharing. Let me just open up my folder here. He actually sent me a video of this. So check this out, people. So you'll have decided to have an attempt on this whole thing that I was making last week. And what he used was, and he said it only took him 5 minutes to do, was using the ball joints as the tool to spin around. And honestly, I didn't think about using the ball joints. Now, there is interferences when they go around. You can see that. But you know what? I think that's fair enough. I appreciate you sending this. I think that was, that was a good attempt to do this. So using the ball joints for that. So that kind of that was a good little tip there. I thought. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Next one is I'm just running through my emails here the best I can. Thank you for producing wonderful material. You are so very welcome. This is from Wolfgang. My question is, what is the silver electrical box on the shelf behind you with a big red H? So that'll be that thing right there. That is a Haar CNC controller. It does absolutely nothing. It's the most expensive wall art I have in my household. It's one that I borrowed from Autodesk. It's used a lot in education. So for young people who is learning how to program CNC milling machines, it's a lot cheaper for the schools to buy one of these. It goes for about $1,600 last time I looked. And then the students can practice putting the code in. You can simulate it. Right now you will actually see, maybe you can see that numbers are running up there. It's just looping the same program over and over again. It's kind of silly that I have it. But just some decoration in my studio here. So that's what it's used for. So the students can practice the CNC codes that you could post out of Fusion, for example, before they go out to an actual CNC machine. It's just a great way to kind of like practice and do that kind of stuff. Wolfgang, thank you so much for your question. Next one is from Joe. Love your YouTube videos. Thank you so much, Joe. Is there any way to import a 3D PDF file into Fusion 360? I saw an extension you can buy for $100 that would export a Fusion 360 file into a 3D PDF, but not importing. Joe, I did a little bit of research, 5 minutes or so, on the forum, Fusion forum, on the Fusion knowledge base. I couldn't find anything on it either. I am not quite surprised because PDFs is an Adobe thing. And as far as I know, I'm not 100% sure, but as far as I know, 3D PDFs is just manipulated. It's not CAD sketched lines. It's not vector lines as far as I know. I could be wrong about that. Now, if you could find a way to turn your 3D PDF into vector and then maybe bringing it in to Fusion as a SVG or something like that, depending on what you're bringing in. But natively, no. Not what I'm aware of. You can't do that. Just answering a bunch of questions, and then we get back into Fusion and modeling again. Hi, Lars. This is from David. Hey, David. Great fan of your teaching on Fusion. Thank you so much for watching. Also watching on the Facebook. Yes, so there's also the Facebook page. If you haven't done that, go out to Facebook, search Lars Christensen Fusion 360, and you will find the page there. I post some different stuff there too. Not sure if this is even possible, but can your LarsLive post be listed in numerical order so that I could then be able to watch them from number 1 to the current number? Yes, sort of. You could. you couldn't, well, I should say, they can be listed. If you go in here and you go and search Lars Christensen, YouTube maybe. So this is gonna show up here. So we're gonna start playing music now.
Do you?
Shut them off. What you can do on the channel is you can click videos, and that will give you the order of videos that I have done to a certain extent. It will only load a certain amount. It doesn't load all of them as far as I know. But my videos are not in order of being, you know, beginner. What I have done is I've tried to be as diligent as I can with playlists, but I don't think I've done a great job at it, if I gotta admit it. So here's all the LarsLives. So there's 52 of those right now. Be aware, so here's the LarsLive when I did all the live streams, 198 of those. But I did create a absolute beginner live stream. So if you are brand new, I would select the absolute beginner live stream recordings here. Again, you go to the channel, click playlist, and you can click on that. And that will give you 14 of what I think is the absolutely beginner right there. Hope that answers your question. So that you can, I guess you can get them in order, but it doesn't really, like, I'm very random when I'm doing this kind of stuff. Next one is from Chris. Great lessons as always. Thank you so much, Chris. I should break your videos into different areas. You should break your videos into different areas like cam or 3D, etc. Combine all your videos for download in one big download file, like a book. It's not a bad idea. Would be great to have them all in one place on our computers for simply search functions. Yes. I have a dream that one day I will get an intern who I really love what John Saunders over on NYCNC have done as his webpage. If you go over to his page, you will see he's all categorized all his videos there. I would love to do the same thing on cadcamstuff.com, what is my site. But this is Saturday right now as I'm recording this, so this is the best I can do right now. But you know, maybe someday somebody on the Fusion team have an intern who don't know what to do. Send them over to me. I'll have them organize all that. Anyways, I have a problem. I would like to input a pebble texture onto a drawing on Fusion. I've seen your video on making a mechanical texture like hatching, but feel there must be a way to import a texture like, for instance, pebbles or rocks or bricks without having to draw each and every item. So what he's referring to, now we're in here, if we do go to the LarsLives.
Hey everybody, happy Monday.
Shut that guy up for a second. Let's click up here so we get the whole list. And this is my old office. So now got evicted. That's now a nursery for the baby. Wife kicked me out. I'm just going to scroll all the way down to the bottom so they all get loaded here. I find that's the easiest. All right. Scroll up here. One of the ones that... Who wrote this? This was Chris's email. This one. Create cool patterns and knurling. LarsLive 116, if you search for that one. That will show you how you can do some pretty cool textures using the CAM workspace. In regards to something more like rock or landscaping, no, not as of right now with Fusion 360. And it pretty much comes down to that Fusion 360 is created on mechanical CAD, not on kind of like a more, I'm thinking of something like Autodesk 3ds Max or something where you can, you know, we have the swoopy surfaces with the sculpting environment where you could go ahead and create something like that. But Fusion is mechanical CAD, and right now there's not a way to do it. It might change. I wouldn't be surprised if it does. But the reason that Fusion doesn't have it like natively is because mechanical CAD calculates everything, right? To make sure that everything is located with sketches and things like that. So something like pebbles or weird texture things, it will just probably slow the computer down. So pass on that one. Sorry. I'm just answering my emails. Some of the answers might not be great. I apologize. This one is from Ari from Finland. Love Finland. Is it possible to choose which format to export a DXF out as, like R12 or R14? So we talked about DXF in the beginning of this video. Fusion will natively save out as R14, DXF R14. That's what it does. You cannot switch it, but what you could do was you could bring it out as an R14, bring it into something like AutoCAD, and then make it a 12. So natively it comes out as a 14. It's probably because it just didn't make sense to develop the switch boxes and stuff like that. The reason that Ari might be asking is if you're having like an older piece of software you're using. For example, we did the plasma cutter in the beginning of the video, where if you try to export out it as a DXF and you wanted to get it as an R12. But consider to actually create your toolpath inside of Fusion instead, and see if you can't just post the code to your plasma cutter, just like our first one there. All right, one more here before we get back into some modeling. Is it possible to change the color of the dimension lines from black to red or orange? Sometimes it's a wee bit confusing to see the rest of the sketch when they also are black. And this is from Groden Hans. And I agree with you on this. So let's just go back to the screen here. If you go back to this, we did this computer fan. If you go in and look at the first sketch, I can totally see how dimensions and lines kind of like gets different. The only thing I know of you can do is you could select the sketch entity and you could fix it, and that will make it green, but might make it look a little bit different. But of course now you could not use parametric tools with it, so that's probably not a really good solution either. Sorry, Groden, at this point you cannot change that. That would be a good that could be a good request to do that, and probably not impossible to do. All right, let's do the next one. The next one is from Jerry. Love your videos. Thank you so much, Jerry. Let's see here. We use a lot of stock parts. Some places like McMaster, where we pull step files easily, and others are stored in zip files with all the parts in step files. I've tried uploading these zip files, but it doesn't seem that Fusion understands what to do with them. Right, so if you have a zip file zip file is just a packaged up file, right? So you need an application like Windows or Mac to open up that zip. Like, you can bring a zip file up to Fusion, but it doesn't do anything because it's just a closed package. You would have to, on your local machine, you would have to unzip it, so you unpack it, and then you could bring the files up. Is there any way to share these uploaded libraries to individual users without having to do it separately? Yes. So this is a great question from Jerry, and it's a very timely manner because we just had an update in Fusion 360 where now everybody have access to Fusion Team. I have done a video on Fusion Team. I'm not going to get totally deep into it right now, but I just want to, Jerry, just so you know, and all of you guys watching, you now all have access to Fusion Team. The easiest thing is to do is actually inside of Fusion, go up and click the little question mark up here and click on What's New. That will bring up Kaching. He's awesome. His latest post in here, and you will find down here he's talking about the data management and collaboration with Fusion Team. Everyone should go out and read this. And there is a couple of support articles on the Autodesk Knowledge Network here. But what it is that inside of Fusion right now, when you click over here and you get, you see all your folders over here. For most people, unless you already have Fusion Team, but means somebody has to set it up for you, for most of us, we are in our single, only personal hub. What that means is that when Fusion started out, they kind of created, you sign up, you put in your email address, and you get a Autodesk account. This Autodesk account is yours. It's your files, it's your stuff, right? It's all stored up on the Amazon servers. So each account that was created is associated with your Fusion 360. Again, means that everything you see in here is your files, and wherever you kind of like have sorted out inside of the library, and you have your name up here. Now, if you click on your name up here, it will bring you out to this, and this is where you can look at all your files online. Now, one thing to pay attention to is that when I open this up, you will see it says My Hub, and that means that is my personal file. Now, here's what's new. What is new? So we have that, but one of the problems we ran into was that when companies were using Fusion 360, companies didn't want people to use their personal accounts, right? So if you left the company, somebody left the company, they took the files with them because it was associated with that personal account. So Fusion Team was created, and people have been using that. It had a little bit of a cost with it. So a company could buy Fusion Team, what means that now there was one file reservoir. Everybody's Fusion are using those files, but it also means that there was permissions. What they have done now was that they have decided that, this is kind of silly. We should, if we could redo everything, we would never have given people a personal account. We would have given them a team account, and then people could decide who should get permissions and stuff. So that's what you can do now. So Jerry, that's what you're gonna love that you can do now. So again, go out to this article and read this. Now, what you get is when you click on this, I'm gonna open this up here. You get a Welcome to Fusion Team. You can click on that. And now my account is signed up as an Autodesk account. So it's actually, Fusion is actually using your domain name. So mine is lars.christensen@autodesk.com. That means I actually have an administrator out there who is in control over the Autodesk.com brand. So I can see all other, there is Al Watmo, Autodesk team. I could transfer mine over to there, but you should see that you will see here you can create a new team. And again, read this blog post to get all this information. So yours should probably look a little bit different than mine. So I could move all mine from a private account over to another team, and I actually have a team account myself. Somewhere in here you will find my name. So I could transfer everything from my hub over to that. What will actually be better to do? I should do this. What this all means inside of Fusion, I'll just get out of this for a second. Inside of Fusion, you can switch between these accounts. You maybe never knew this, but if I go up and click on my name, there is actually a switch team here. So here you can see all, as my phone is ringing, you can see all the different accounts that I am part of. So in here, switch team, you will see here that I actually have my own account that I could switch over to. You could also do this. Online. Over here, if I click on my name, I could switch from my hub, but again, it's this personal account, to my team account. So if I click on that, it will open up inside of the team. So this is what I would recommend. Everybody transfer their accounts over to a team account like I have here. And what this does is that you can now invite people, for example, and you can start giving them permissions to either be able to edit or view and different things that we couldn't do before. So, Jerry, you should absolutely go out and do this, read this. And again, to get to this blog post, click inside of Fusion, click on the question mark up here, click on what's new, find Kaching's awesome blog post, read through that section here. There's a couple of things to help you with that, and you should be all good to go. And you can now share all these files and libraries a lot easier. I hope that was useful. Jerry, yeah, really appreciate it. Thumbs up, thumbs down. But that's an important thing that they just added inside of Fusion in the latest release. You should definitely go and check that out. I think this is a great thing. It's something that I think everybody wished they had from the beginning, but that's how it goes. Next question. Next question is from Scott. Scott says, I'm in the process of trying to output a 3D model into code so I can use my CNC router table to output it. I'm struggling, as I'm new to Fusion, to get the file set up and create a mold. Scott, you did send me a file. I have a hard time quite understanding exactly what you're trying to do. But again, if you go to the live stream out here and you, let's go out here, do a Control F and do mold. I have done a couple of videos. This one here, you might like this one, how to make a casting mold. So if you go to YouTube and you search LarsLive 105, I think you might like this one. If you're still confused, send me another email, maybe with a screenshot or something what you're trying to do. All right, that was Scott. Next one. Hi Lars, this is from David. I watch your YouTube videos and I also use a little bit of Revit, and I was wondering if anyone at Autodesk makes tutorial videos like yours for learning Revit. It's kind of funny at Autodesk. We're a pretty big company. I think like 7,000, 9,000 employees. I know a few people over on the architecture construction side, but not many. I honestly don't know if there's somebody out there from Autodesk, but I know that if you search Revit tutorials, there is this guy, Balkan Architect, and I don't know much about, I don't know Balkan, but I'm looking at his videos and they look stunning. I started looking at this one here, Revit interior design with kitchens, and you get a commercial. And I would recommend that you check out Balkan because, first of all, it looks like what he does is really, really nice. Yeah, so if you haven't already checked out him, it looked like his tutorials are super sharp. So give Balkan a shout out. Looks good. Appreciate it, Balkan. If you're watching this, I don't know why you watch this, but if you do, maybe you're learning Fusion 360. All right, let's wrap this up with a couple of more. I have a really good part in the ending, a really complex part in the ending, but let's jump in and do a couple of cams. So the next one is from Sean Sorensen. Hey, Sean. From California, looks like. I'm having trouble in getting a toolpath to generate with a part that I'm trying to mill using 4th axis. Ooh, that's a good one. Sean sent a picture, so let me just call that picture up. A picture that said looks somewhat like this here. So, and it took me a second, actually I have to admit, I thought that this key slot was inside, but it's actually sticking up. So Sean is trying to machine around this and having a hard time using the wrap function. The wrap function inside of Fusion. Let's take a look at this, Sean. I think I can show you a couple of neat tricks. So I'm going to start out by modeling something up that looks something similar to what you have there. Let's go up here. I'm not going to fully define this, so forgive me, everyone. Let's do a revolve right there around this axis right there, and then there was this Tslot sticking up. So let's go in and create something here, send a rectangle like that. Let's create an alpha line, draw a line up there, And then let's go ahead here, alpha line for across there, and do a snap. Oh, I thought that will select the minimum. It'll take the midpoint there to there. And let's do a Q. Select it all. And I thought first this was a cut, like a Tslot, like this. But then I actually looked again, and it looks like that it is more like this. That's a big Tslot. Hang on a second. It's very tall. What happens when you don't fully define with making a see how there's a gap down there? You see that? Why is that? It's because when we selected these here, I didn't select these in there. See that? Now it's a solid. Okay. So it's all about staying awake, right? I need perspective with auto. So if you're ever looking at it, it looks a little weird. Right click and do perspective with auto. That looks a little bit better. All right. So the question that Sean has is, how do I cam this? And I'm reading your email, and I might be. Let me just bring this file up again. I'm trying to machine with an 1/8 inch end mill. As soon as I select the wrap orientation, the tool moves to the side compensation. How could we do this? And you can see that kind of like with the lines there. So, a couple of tricks here. If you just want to machine around the key slots as a finishing operation, let's do that first. Then I would go into manufacture. I'm going to do a setup. Now I'm going to switch this over to a mill turn setup, right? Hit OK. And let's go in here. Now, if you just wanted to do machining around, and I looked at your drawing, Sean, and I'm seeing you're using a 2D contour toolpath. So let's go ahead and do the same thing, a 2D contour toolpath. Let's go ahead and select the tool. I'm going to keep this metric just to throw Sean off. Flat end mill like this. When we go in here and we can select our wrap toolpath, we select that face. When you're selecting the uptown here, you can select, if you select that upstairs one there, and then, but there's no depth, then I would go over to the heights tab over here, and you could select to a selection, select right there, hit OK, that's invalid, okay, let's do this instead. From selection, -1. Okay. I couldn't select that point. I don't know why I can't select the point. Edit, select, selection. That point. Oh, I think, did I select in there? Okay, the point don't work. The edge, I'm not sure why that point looks, but that the edge works here. So I think this is what you were trying to do. So select the top face so you get it to go all the way around, and then when we simulate this now, go to simulate, play the toolpath, then you will see that you get a wrap function where it's going to wrap around the Tslot here. I hope it's kind of like what you're looking for. Now, if you're looking to wrap around, because this is one of the next questions I'm going to get, if you're looking to wrap around the whole part, then we have to, the way that Fusion works, we have to do a little bit of a little bit of work here to try to make that happen. What we actually will do is we will cheat a little bit. So I'm going to go back into the design workspace. I'm just going to go over to the surface toolpath. And in here, there is an offset. I'm going to select offset. I'm going to select this face, but I'm not going to put a distance in. I'm going to leave it at 0. I'm going to hit OK. That will actually copy that face. See, if I turn the original body off, see how we just copied that face? Okay. Now what we could do was we could break this face into two. So we could go and say split body, select that face, break it with like this plane. Now it's two surfaces. So there's a surface on this side and there's a surface on this side. Now if we drive those with cam and a wrap, then we can actually machine the rest of it around. And now this one is giving us a warning right now, just because it needs to be updated. We can do that. Whoops. Select the right thing. Right click, generate. So this is still good. If I simulate that, you will still see that we're still machining around that. That's all good. But if we want to machine that whole thing, we could do a 2D adaptive clearing and go back. I'm just going to use the same tool. Go back into wrap. Select this face and then select this outer edge as its area. Hit OK. And now you will actually see that we get a wrapped toolpath around this. And if you're post supported, now I know that there's a lot of yellow, but that's because of the stock selection. Ignore that for right now. If your post supports this, it will actually machine around. We can go and do the same thing. We can right click, repeat to the adaptive, go to the wrap toolpath, select the wrap on the other side as the face, and select the pocket selection there, and then it will do the same thing on the other side. So if we're turning our solid back on, the bodies, turn the two surfaces off and turn the body back on, now we actually probably want the contour to be in the end. We just drag that down to the bottom. So you can drag in here if you didn't know that. Now if we simulate this now, you will see, let's turn this to tail. And again, I have the stock set up. That's why you're going to see all this and rad and all this stuff. But there you will see that we would get a wrap function that would actually wrap around this on both sides. So there's the first side. It's cleaning that off right now. And then it can go in and do that wrap toolpath there. Of course, in the machine, this piece will spin around, and then it will machine that in the end. Now, you do probably notice, if I turn the two toolpath back on, that we are actually missing a little bit here and a piece here. You could go in with a file if you want to. Nobody wants to. What you could do is, and the reason it does this is because the adaptive stays within that boundary you selected, right? What you could do was you could go in back into the design and you could do an extension of the surfaces. So if we extend this surface out a little bit, maybe just 5 millimeters, we could also do the same thing to like this and this. Move them out 5 millimeters like that. When we go back into CAM, they will, when we generate them, you will see that that second one will go a little bit past it. So you could actually, with the post supporting it, you could actually get this, should be able to get a pretty good toolpath. So now you will see this one actually goes past the center. I don't know if it goes enough past it. Close. It went out a couple of more, and 0.5 millimeter more. That will, these two will, it does on the bottom maybe, they will overlap. So that was a little bit of a way to do this. I hope this is somewhat useful. I think this was the one you were looking for. Sean, by the way, I'm talking about posts. Don't forget that if you go to Google and you do Autodesk Post Library and you search on that, you will get in here where all the different posts are. And if you go in here, you will see that there's the milling, there's the mill turn in here. They regularly gets updated. So here you can find all the different posts for turning a mill post in here. All these posts for mill turn. So There is post in here that pretty much solves all that problem. Sean, I hope that was a useful trick. Next one is from Marek. Hey Marek, could you please explain in your YouTube channel live stream how to mill a V pocket in case that my V spot mill is smaller than the V milled pocket? I've tried strategies without success. Yes, let's do that, Marek. Let's jump back in here. Again, if you're looking for post that's here, let's go back into Fusion. That was our 4th axis example there. But let's go ahead and do Marek's ones. He actually sent a picture too. I should share that. That's a good picture. So you have a V slot, like we see here, and your tool is too small for that. How do you do that? And it looks like you're using the trace function. And that's actually probably pretty good starting point. So let's go in here, new file. Let's just draw something up. I'm going to do the 2-point rectangle. Draw something up like this. Let's put a line in. Midpoint to midpoint. Let's do a V. Snap that in there. That in there. I normally like to use my symmetry for that. So point, line. And let's do a diameter between these two. Let's make it like 35 maybe, just to make it a little crazy. And let's also just make sure that we keep this at 90 degrees. Okay, let's press pull. There we go, Marek. So we have a groove, and now we're going to machine that. So let's go into manufacture. Let's do a setup. I'm going to leave that. That's fine. Hit OK. And I saw that you used the trace tool. What is actually a pretty good starting point. If we hit trace, and let's go ahead and select the tool. On the bottom, metric. And there's a 10mm spot drill right there. Hit OK. And then if we go into trace, select this line. Now you see how it selected a full chain? Let me just do that again. I'm going to exit over here. Click here. See how I select the full chain? I don't want the full chain. If you click on it again, then you get this option here, and you can just select it on a open chain and hit the little plus sign. Now it only selected that line. Hit OK. And we get a trace toolpath. And if we click play, we will see that it's come down and does a beautiful trace on the bottom there. You can even, and it looks like you tried this too, you could even go in here, right click, edit. You can go to your passes tab, and you could do actual offset. So actual offset passes in here. So maybe we do 15 passes at 1mm, right? Maybe a little bit more than that. But now if we went in and simulated this, let's turn the stock back on, then we would kind of see how we could, machine this down, right? So it's going to go straight down. What is not the good solution, because the slot is really wide. To do that, I would use the contour toolpath in the 3D environment. You're saying to yourself, well, wait a minute, I don't have a ball end mill. You don't need a ball end mill for this inside of Fusion. I click on this, and now you will see though that I selected a spot drill. If I just hit OK to this, I get a warning that a spot drill will not work for a 3D toolpath. But a chamfer mill will. Same thing. So to find that it's a chamfer mill, let's hit OK and see what we get. And now we get something that looks a lot better, right? That's kind of like what we want. Now, I will see here, though, that if I run this right now, so you could actually use the trace toolpath first to kind of get rid of the center of it, right? So if we do that, go in here and hit play. Now you can speed up down here. If I click down here, you can kind of see how the slot is being created. You maybe wouldn't do it just like this brutal, but you can see the slot. Now you will see that now when it does the free axis, that's probably not exactly what we want here. What I probably would do, I'm pretty lazy. I would probably go in here and I would do right click and do a duplicate. Right click, do a few duplicates of these. And then just, you know, I did 4 of them. I don't know how many I would need, but right click on the second to last one, go in here, turn on stock to leave, and maybe you do 2 millimeters. Go into the next one up here, right click, edit, stock to leave, do 4 millimeters. And the last one up here, edit, and maybe we do 6 millimeters. I'm just making this up here. Let's see how it looks now. So now, the first one's gonna be just going down to the, I know maybe you wouldn't go on down the bottom. Maybe you'll break that up to a couple too, but let's see what we get here when it comes to the end. Speed it up a little bit. So now you will see that it will kind of break it into a couple of different steps. Maybe a little bit easier to break down. You could actually also probably go the other way. But this, Marek, this is how I would attack doing that. So I hope that was kind of useful. If you like that, thumbs up. If you don't, it's okay. Thumbs down. Comments and subscribe and all that good stuff. All right, last one here. This one is from Isaac, and this one is a really good one. Hope you appreciate this. Thumbs up if you do, thumbs down if you don't. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, do all those cool things. This one I think is really cool. So Isaac sent me an image. I think this one is a fun one. Looks like this. How would you model something up like this in Fusion 360? You could do this in the model space. I would probably do a combination of both, but I think that this looks really fun as a sculpting exercise. So Isaac, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna start out in our standing modeling page here. So I'm gonna go up and create a sketch on the top face here, see the circle, and I'm gonna make this one like 500 millimeters, like this. I'm gonna draw a line vertical down, snap that in there, line vertical over there, and a line there. Now let's do the symmetry. So point, line, D for there to there. And I'm gonna make this 40. Now, here's the thing. What I'm doing right now, Isaac, is when I'm looking at this part, I should probably set this. There's a lot of the same thing in here, right? So if I break it down and only do from here over to here, I should be able to pattern the rest of them, right? So what I did was I said that 360, I counted these. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 divided by 360 degrees. That's 40. So that's 40 degrees. So I'm just going to concentrate on just modeling up these 3 horns here, and then I'm going to pattern the rest around. So I'm going to go ahead here and create a pizza slice. Extrude it down, doesn't care about the thickness. This is just a tool. I'm going to get rid of this in the end. I'm not going to use this in the end. Nothing to do with what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get into the sculpt environment. In the sculpt environment, I'm going to use one of these predefined shapes. I'm going to take a cylinder. I'm going to do same size, 500, and draw that up there. And then I get a barrel. And that barrel, if you look at the bottom here, you will see that it looks, it's same radius, right? Pretty much same radius. If I looked at the bottom here, it's same radius, right? Pretty much right there. But I need, one of the things you'll run into is I need more control points than one this barrel came with originally. So I'm only concentrating on this where the pizza shape is right now. I'm going to leave the rest because it would actually affect the shape in the sculpt environment. And then I cut it off in the end. I'm also going to use symmetry, what means that if I place symmetry, what I do on one side will repeat on the other side. Click symmetry, like this face, and I get a green line down, what gives me symmetry. Now I want to insert another control point here. So now I'm going to go to modify, insert edge, and I'm going to double click on the edge. When I double click on it, it will select the whole way down. So double click, and you will see I get an edge right there. Now if I go and look at the front view, I can kind of control where that edge goes. So I'm going to make sure it goes close to my pizza shape and hit OK. And when I do that, I actually get one on the other side because of that symmetry turned on. But one of the things about Sculpt is it's trying to keep everything aligned and continuously. So when you go down, you look at the bottom right now, you will see that it's not following the pizza shape. Because we inserted those edges, it's actually trying to keep continually curved. So now we can edit that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, hit edit form. I'm going to double click on this line again. I can actually control where that cursor is. So I'm going to click on this little handle and place it right down there in the bottom, hit the green check mark. And now if I go in here, I can grab, I like to grab these, and I can drag that down to about where I think that is, hit OK. So that brought that, if we look at the bottom again, I kind of locked that one down, but I see that these are still, I think I can do better. So I'm going to move up. I'm going to right click, edit form. I'm going to double click on this edge this time. Click that little set pivot. Set that pivot there. Hit the green check mark. And maybe it's easier if I go in here a little bit on an angle. Make sure I grab the right one. I can drag that closer down. And this is where, as I said before, when it comes to the sculpt space, the more this is where you just kind of like playing around with it. Now it may be a little bit under here, so you would go back and say, oh, I can do better. Right click, edit form, double click this face, set pivot point, come in, set the pivot point, and maybe I say, I want to get a little bit closer. So you can sit and play with this all day long, and that's how you make good shape. But if we look at the bottom right now, that is good enough for me. Now is actually where I'm going to start making the shape. Now you will see that if you look from the top down, you'll see the barrel is not really round anymore. But I'm fine with that because I'm only really looking for these rows right now. So now I'm going to right click, edit form, and you could just be tempted to click on this point here and grab on this one, and you could drag this back. But you see how it's really just pulling at that point. And that's not really how the shape looks like. So I'm going to undo that. You could also select, instead of selecting the point, you could select the line, and you could try the same thing. And that's maybe more what I want, except I still want that point. So I'm going to click back up on that. So you can, this is where you can play with sculpt, right? And you can get this shape exactly how you want. Maybe I select here, select this pivot point to down to here. Kind of drag that back. Like whatever you kind of makes you feel good about. And this, again, like I said, it's where we can play all the time. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to select this, not the face, I don't want the face, this line. And then now we could start dragging that outwards. And you will see, again, because we have the symmetry on, it's happening on both ends. So I pulled that out a little bit. That maybe made me think that, okay, that means I want to bring this one back a little bit. And this is what sculpting does. You're literally just playing all the time. Okay. I think I'm getting there. I could probably spend, somebody's going to tell me you should really spend some more time on this. Absolutely. I would if I was you. I'm going to hit OK to this. Okay. And then there is actually in here, there is a thickening. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to thicken our sculpt here. Select that. I'm going to thicken it back. I don't know how much I should thicken it. 10 millimeters maybe. Try it. So now it is actually thickened, right? Now it's thick around here, a band. That's our band. I'm going to hit OK to snap out of here. So now we're back in the solid environment. Now what I can do is I could go over and say I am going to split this body with the face of my pizza. Hit OK. Right click, split this side of the body with the face of my pizza. See that? Now, I actually don't care about, I don't really care about the pizza, but I don't care, this is the one I want. I don't care about these two. So we could right click on that and say remove. Right click on that and say remove. And now, I'm going to just hide the pizza slice. Now, if we go in and we do a circular pattern, and we select this, select the axis, select this, and we wanted 9 of them, because we used the pizza slide, whoops, right click, edit, full, oh, I select the faces, sorry. We don't want faces, we want bodies. This body, around there. Because we used the pizza slice to cut this with, it means that now it will be perfect all the way around and it will fit. Now we ended up getting all these bodies. So now most of the times you want to end up, and you can see here we probably want to do more to these. But what you could do at this point is you can go in and say, combine this body with this body, hit OK, right click, combine this body with this body, right click, combine this body with this body, and you could turn it all into one nice big solid. And then you could of course try to do more stuff with it. You could blow holes in it. You could do other kind of things in here. So that's, and right click. And now it is one body in here. Now you could go in, I don't know if this is going to work, you could go in and try to add some fillets to these edges. Looks like you might take it. See that? So you could actually add some fillets. Oh, to do too much, it's going to cut through it. So I could select the inside too, maybe. That was worth. Now I'm going to try that. Let's do a fillet on this and on this. Can we do 20? So now you could start doing the, something is happening up there with 20. It's definitely deforming it. 10 will work. So now you could start doing other commands that you normally were used to in here, and add your fillets or drill holes or whatever you want. Not exactly what you're seeing here, Isaac. It actually looks like what I probably should do next. You could do some kind of a revolved cut all the way around, and again, because it's a solid, you could actually do that. Right click, let's select the face here. Go ahead and look at that face. I'm going to use this slicing tool that I love so much over here, and now I'm gonna whack this. Now I'm gonna try. I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna draw a circle. This should probably not be a circle. This should probably be some other obscure shape. I'm gonna do a circle anyways, and if I do a revolve of that shape around the center and make it a cut, you can see that would work too. So it is a full solid. Coming back, and at any point you can right click down here, say edit, and now you're right back in our sculpt environment again, and we could be like, yeah, you know, I thought that I wanted to move things around. You can right click and you can do that. But I thought this was a kind of a cool little trick, cool little shape. I maybe don't like that cut. Move that back. I hope this was useful, Isaac. This is where we're gonna wrap up this Ask Lars Live number 9. A lot of questions. Didn't have answers to all of them. I challenge you to answer some of them if you have the answers down in the comments area. Thumbs up if you like this. Thumbs down if you don't. That is okay. And until the next time, I hope you have an awesome, awesome day. Take care, folks.